or at Your Female Engineer. And I am your special host today, or ghost, for the Women in STEM Wednesday. This is episode 5, and I'm extremely excited to be here today, waving to as many people as possible, because today we have a special guest. We have Dr. Sian Proctor, and we're really excited to have her here. She is a very accomplished woman, as you saw on the Instagram takeover. So hopefully, she'll be here soon, and we'll see who's requesting to join. But I'm really excited to be here because Dr. Sian Proctor is just absolutely amazing, and we'll see who can. Let's see who's here real quick. All right, who wants to go live with me? I'll wait till Dr. Sian Proctor wants to come in, and let's see. From Sandra from Papaya Tutors first. So here she is.
Hi. Hey,
Hi.
Jan.
How's it going? I'm adjusting everything really quick. Hi.
I know. Thank you so much for doing this. And thank you for finding Dr. Sian Proctor. I'm very excited for our students. Thank you for being part and helping us with Papaya. We want to, make education affordable and accessible for everybody. So we also want to bring amazing individuals such as you and Dr. Sian Proctor to help students really hear from engineers who, were once in the students' shoes and journey. So we want to, learn from your mistakes and yeah, I'm just very excited for this special episode, and thank you for making it happen, Joanne, and thank you for hosting it. I'm very, very excited. We have a 2-time TEDx presenter, a space chef, a professor, and an analog astronaut from NASA, and I'm very, very excited to introduce Dr. Sian Proctor.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for introducing our special guest. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go, and I'm going to go ahead and connect with Dr. Proctor. Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you.
Right. Let's see who else is here. All right. So Dr. Proctor is coming up next. Without further ado, let's see if we can get her on here.
Hey.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm actually wearing my STEM hairpin for today's exciting episode of Women in STEM Wednesday. So I'm really excited for you to be here. On your takeovers, you're a very accomplished woman. And, for episode 5, we love to showcase women in STEM, and you are the epitome of what someone can be if they keep going with their life goals, because you have achieved so much. So before we go into it, I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Sian Proctor. I'm a geoscientist. I'm an explorer. I'm an analog astronaut, so I've got my flight suit on, and so we can talk about what it means to be an analog astronaut. But I have traveled and taught around the world, and I've done some really fun, cool adventures, from investigating climate science up in Barrow, Alaska, or going to sea on the JOIDES Resolution, and hiking the Camino de Santiago. So if you saw some of my feed videos for the story, then you got to see a little bit of the things that I've done in my career over the past 30 years. And so it's been a fun, exciting journey, and I can't wait to see what the next 30 years brings.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go into the interview, because we are in a meme account, I wanted to do something kind of special, and I wanted to analyze a meme that's Eduardo has on his page. So I'm going to pull this up really quick. All right, let me see if you can see it. Oh man, it's a little cut off, but so this tweet kind of went viral a few days ago, and it talks about, your GPA, saying you have your 2.4 GPA, and this person said had 2.4 GPA when they first started their semester. However, they were still able to land a rover on Mars. They were part of that team. So, kicking it off, I want to talk about how important, I know you've probably been out of school for quite some time, but you're a teacher at a community college. So I wanted to talk to you more about your teaching, how you teach your students. Are grades that important?
That's a good point. Grades actually aren't. It's about what your journey is in your learning experience and what you do with that. And so, because I can tell you, since I've graduated, nobody asked me what my GPA was. You know, out in the real world, once you're doing things, it's important for when you want to go on to grad school and stuff, because it's one of the things that they use as a marker. I'm not sure that's really the best marker, because grit, tenacity, resilience, all of these things really help to determine how well somebody's going to do when they go on into higher ed. But no, it's all about you finding your passion and then diving in and being able to elevate to that next level. And that's what makes that story so great, is like, yeah, I was an average student, but hey, look what I just did. And I feel like I resonate with that really, really well, because I remember in high school just being like, you know, an average BC student and not really knowing what I wanted to do, but always having a love of STEM, and then going and getting my environmental science degree, and then wanting to go to grad school and trying to figure that out. But I think that that's one of the things that I see as a community college professor, is a lot of students who come in and they're like, no, I have to get an A. I have to. I'm like, no, it's about the journey of learning and discovery and figuring out what works for you and why you're excited about it. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for myself, I was on academic probation one semester when I was an undergrad, and I still ended up at NASA. So, I mean, you know, I wish when I was in college, I had something like Papaya Tutors, so I can go and, you know, have tutors for STEM, because I know I failed organic chemistry as a chemical engineer twice. And I love saying that story just because, you know, failure is just a part of life. And so, you know, I'm pretty sure you see that a lot in your, as a teacher in a, you know, community college.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I'm always trying to get students to realize, that getting help and finding resources like Papaya Tutor is to help you succeed and get past that. Passing grade is what you need to go on to the next level. It doesn't have to be, like you were saying, an A. And if you're not successful the first year, what really matters is your resiliency and your grit to come back and continue and try again, and get the resources that you need so that you can be successful and you can move forward. And then you can have this amazing career with NASA. You can become an astronaut, you can land
an analog astronaut and everything.
Yeah, you can do all kinds of things. And that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, you know, Papaya has that, one of their mottos is a judge-free zone, because I know that when I was in college, I was afraid to ask for help because I just felt like I wasn't smart enough. Like if I was asking for help, it was just me saying that, you know, I'm not smart enough to pass this class on my own. So, you know, having people there to help you along the way that won't judge you because, you know, you're not getting the information as quickly as others is exactly what we need.
You know, that's one of the things that I think is one of the big misconceptions, is that asking for help shows a weakness, when it actually shows resourcefulness and understanding of what you can and cannot do and where you need help. And people who, you know, when we struggle to ask for help, that means that we're just limiting ourselves and our ability to move forward in the best way that we can. And so don't be afraid to ask for help. And don't be afraid to go talk to your instructors, because that's what they're there for, is to, you know, provide assistance and guidance and resources like Papaya to help you be successful.
Yeah, definitely. Flip Flop Flux, by the way, I love your name, was saying A's are great, but so is maintaining a healthy mind. And that's something that we overlook, is, you know, making sure that you have that balance of, you shouldn't just be studying all the time. You need to also take care of yourself and your mind. So that's fantastic. So thank you. So I wanted to go into your life, because it's amazing. And like the stuff that you have accomplished so far just blows my mind, as someone who, you know, loves NASA, as someone who wants to be an astronaut. You know, I want to talk to you about your journey as an analog astronaut, and also being one of the finalists to be selected to be a NASA astronaut. That's amazing. So go ahead, tell us your story.
You know, it's really interesting, because my story actually goes back to being born. I was born on Guam because my father was working at the NASA tracking station back for the Apollo missions. And I am literally a celebration baby of Neil Armstrong stepping on the moon. I was born 8.5 months after those historic steps. So, and then I grew up with Neil Armstrong's autograph to my dad saying, hi, Ed, thanks for all the help. Neil Armstrong, Apollo 11, and all of these other kind of cool NASA memorabilia. And I just remember my dad was always very inspiring about me wanting to think about being a military aviator, flying the F-16, and going on and becoming a shuttle commander, and all of those kinds of things. Because keep in mind, I was a teenager during the Top Gun, when Top Gun first came out.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Let me there that my screen time. I don't want this to end for Instagram. But then I had some things that happened where that path just kind of closed down on me when I was a teenager. And so it wasn't until my late 30s, after I had gone and gotten my degrees, being a geoscientist and traveling and getting scuba certified and my pilot's license, just things that I wanted to do, unleashing the explorer within. And a friend said, hey, NASA's looking for astronauts. You should apply. This was back in 2008. And I was kind of like, wait, what? Okay. But then I looked at the qualifications and I realized that the life that I was living was the life of what NASA was looking for in their astronauts. And so instead of, having that imposter syndrome kick in and tell me, I can't do this, why? I'm just a community college professor. I decided, you know what? I'm going to just put my name in and see what happens. And I ended up being a finalist for the 2009 astronaut selection process. And that meant that I got down literally out of thousands of people to the yes/no phone call. And so it was a no, but that's okay because the journey was amazing. And the people I met, I'm still friends with. And what I learned about myself, it was really a journey of discovery. And so then a couple of years later, there was the opportunity to go become an analog astronaut and live in the high seas habitat for 4 months, investigating food strategies for long duration spaceflight for NASA. And I was lucky that I got selected to be a part of that crew. And so for the last 7-8 years, I've been doing work as an analog astronaut, living in Moon and Mars simulations and trying to advance human spaceflight here on Earth. Mars!
So, for those that are watching right now, and I'm sure a lot of them are really interested in how can they apply to be an astronaut, like what are some of the qualifications that they look for?
Oh, being genuine, like knowing yourself, being an explorer, being diverse, and doing not just one thing. And so they're really looking for well-rounded people who can go and have a conversation with other people from different backgrounds and get along. Because you got to imagine, you're going up on the ISS or you're going to live on the moon, you're in a small capsule with people for a long time. And you got to like each other. You got to be somebody who is easygoing to some extent, but yet also very knowledgeable and competent in what you're doing.
So I had a question from Good Vibes 1630. What are your thoughts on the U.S. Space Force? I know the question it's kind of directed to me, but I'm asking you. What are your thoughts on the Space Force?
You know what? I am more of a Star Trek than a Star Wars person. So I'd rather trek out into space to boldly go versus fighting our way. But I recognize the need at this stage in humanity's reach for the stars to still protect interests, because we're not all on board yet. But the nice thing about when it comes to space, human space exploration, is it's about crew cohesion. And so if we can learn to what it takes to have crew cohesion in that microcosm, then maybe we can do that for Starship Earth, right? And we can come and have that future we all want. I call it a Jedi space, a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space.
Definitely. I worked for Space Force before it was Space Force. It was Air Force Space Command. So to me, it's just a name change. Air Force Space Command did exactly what Space Force is doing. It just sounds cooler. So, those are our thoughts on Space Force. So Dr. Proctor, we talked about grades a little bit. Did you ever have, or, in your entire career, did you ever have anything on like imposter syndrome? M.RC/333 is asking.
Oh yeah, I actually did one of my TEDx talks is on imposter syndrome, and it's something that I've suffered from my entire life. And again, that voice inside your head and that conversation that fuels you with doubt, and how you can take that and spin it and really try to remove or silence that voice by not letting it stop you from moving forward. And a good example of that was, of course, the astronaut selection process. I could have easily said, you know, here I am in my late 30s, and I could have been like, you know, why would they take me? I'm just a community college professor. You know, they don't know me. I didn't go to Yale. I didn't go to MIT. I didn't go to Stanford. I'm not smart enough. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you are.
Like all of these things that we think of why they would say no versus all of the amazing, unique qualities that you have and the reasons why they would say yes. And the big thing about that is let somebody else decide, you know, put your name out there and don't limit your opportunity. And then if they say no, it's okay. I think that that's one of the hardest things is learning how to take what we think of as rejection. When people say no, it's not easy. That phone call from NASA, when you come this close to your childhood dream and they're like, sorry, no, try again. And you're like, oh, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you made it that far. That's just incredible right there.
Right. And so I learned to, you know, I was really disappointed and I kept thinking, what can I do better? How do I make myself better for the next time? And instead of celebrating the fact that I got down to less than 1% in the selection process, which from considering I didn't think that they'd even look at me, that's amazing. And so really celebrating our accomplishments when we put ourselves out there, regardless of the outcome. And so, and really being champions of yourself for when you do apply, even if that response is a no, you had the courage to move forward and do that. And so the next time you do it, it gets easier.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to the analog astronaut, because I'm personally interested because one day I would love to apply to get to do that. What was one of the most dangerous habitats or experiments that you did while you were an analog astronaut?
Well, just to give people an idea, this is the high seas habitat. You can see my ring light on there, but on the big island of Hawaii. And I think the most hazardous thing, I'm just going to bring up a picture here because I think it really sums up the landscape. And that is kind of looking at the volcanic terrain that's there when you go out in a spacesuit and going and climbing into lava tubes and exploring them. I think that that's one of the things where you really start to feel like an explorer because you're going in and you're crossing over this terrain. There's no path. If you fall, you're gonna hurt yourself because it's really sharp volcanic rocks. You're going into these caves and caverns and you're trying to make sure you fit and you don't get stuck. And so these are kind of things that I get super excited about. But it's one of the fun things about being an analog astronaut and going out and living in these Moon and Mars simulations, especially when you go to a place like high seas where the terrain is just magnificent.
So high seas is in Hawaii, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's on the big island of Hawaii on the slopes of Mauna Loa, about 8,000 feet up. And so a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to Hawaii, it's vacation. And you're like, no, it's actually kind of cold to have. Here's a 3D model of it, but it's small, it's semi-translucent. You know, we were there we went into the summer of 2013, and at one time, we had to hunker down in our shipping container that's on the side because there was a hurricane headed for Hawaii. And when you're living in a semi-translucent dome that could be blown away with, you know, the winds being a certain strength, you're like, oh. So there are kinds of hazards that you don't think about. And I felt earthquake while I was there because it's an active volcano.
It's supposed to be like simulation of Mars where you have a hurricane come in
Yes.
and like an earthquake. So
those are the fun things that happen from, you know, being an analog astronaut on Earth. But there are real hazards when going to Mars, right? And thinking about the terrain and the oxygen and not having oxygen when you go out. And so those are the kinds of things where you're swapping some for the other, but you still have to react as a crew, and you still have to figure out how to get along and not only survive, but thrive in that type of environment.
So, I had a question on here. Could you expand on how astronaut health is monitored, nutrition and otherwise, both, like when you're going through the astronaut selection, did they talk about health, or, when you're in your Mars habitat, how do they monitor? Like, how healthy do you have to be? Do they monitor you guys while you're out there?
A lot of it, okay, so I'll talk first about the astronaut selection process. Yeah, they're gonna, if you make it to the final rounds, you go back to Johnson Space Center for a week, and you stay there for a week, and most of it is medical. I mean, they look at everything. I mean, you're getting x-rayed, you're getting poked and prodded, you're getting your eyes checked, everything, because they're looking for anything that could possibly go wrong or reason to disqualify you. And so they have you wearing heart monitors and all kinds of ways to stress you out. But that's also fun and exciting. Now, when you go and live in an analog as an analog astronaut, that depends on the research that's coming in. And so you get research from different universities, you get some research from maybe NASA or other space agencies coming in. And so that's going to determine how much the crew is being monitored. And so, for example, I've done ones where they do, they're looking at microbiomes on you and in the habitat. So when you bring in a crew, a diverse crew, you swab different parts of your body over the time that you're there. And then you also swab parts of the habitat, and then you can see how the microbiome situation is changing over time.
Interesting. I had a comment. Do you regret coming back to Earth?
No, Earth, I'm a geoscientist, so Earth is always going to be number one, I really love our planet. I love being able to go out and explore it. It is beautiful, just so many places to go, and it's so unique.
So, talking a little bit more, continuing on the Mars path, we have a specific space company, SpaceX, who really wants to go to Mars and is testing a lot of stuff in their facilities. So do you foresee us going to Mars in the future, like in the near future, not a rover, like actual humans going to Mars?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And, the moon, robots are leading the way. So we need them to go and break the ground and do the exploration and figure out how to land in the ellipse, and get that so that we can send basically refrigerators from Earth there first, and habitats and robots there first, and then drop a human in. And make it so that we can come back. But the moon is exciting because the moon is going to pave the way for us to go to Mars. And so I do see that happening within the next decade, I hope, where, we're definitely first female footprints on the moon, followed by the first female footprints on Mars.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I'm really excited about that. There's the astronaut corps that was just announced. It was the first time that it was a 50-50 ratio. So 50% male, 50% female. And one of those astronauts are going to be stepping foot on the moon. And then hopefully in the future, it'll be Mars. So, as a woman in STEM, how has been your experience so far as being, a female in a very male dominated profession?
It's been really a challenge to be the only female, but not just the only female in geoscientists. There, especially geology, not a lot of women, and especially not a lot of Black women. So it's definitely been challenging over my career. But what's exciting is that now that I'm more senior in my career, is to look and see all the people who are coming up behind me and the diversity that it's getting better. It's slow to get better because geology moves on geologic time. It's ancient, but it's getting better, and that's what gives me hope. When I start to go to these conferences and I see a lot of young Black scientists or people of color out there in the room, it just makes me, I'm just thrilled.
What is some advice that you would give to a girl or a woman who wants to get into this field?
Oh, geology is awesome. If you love to travel, becoming a geoscientist is the way to go, because I have literally traveled around the world because of that, because geology is everywhere. And if you, when you think about the geosciences, we're talking about oceanography, we're talking about paleontology, we're talking about volcanology, we're talking about seismology, so earthquakes, volcanoes, oceans. I mean, you can go and do all kinds of exploration and follow your passion. I've hiked and seen so many cool things. And so I think that it's the best of the sciences because we're applied. If you think about chemistry and physics and then biology, well, all of those are controlled by geology. And so where your organisms can live is controlled by the landscape. And so that's geology. And then you think about the geophysics of the earth. And when you think about earthquakes and volcanoes and how they operate, that's all geology. And so we are the applied in geochemistry. And your entire world is built around geology. In fact, I got a big mineral sitting right here. This is galena. This is a lead sulfide. But everything around us that is our built environment is a product of the Earth's resources, and it's the geoscientists that, you know, learn about them and study them and figure out how to use them.
That's awesome. So, you know, kind of going on that same path, what is one piece of advice that someone gave to you that has just stuck by you throughout your entire career?
You know, I think that would be more my father. You know, as a kid, his whole idea was that I could do anything. You know, I can't do everything, but I can do anything. And when you think about that, the only reason I can't do everything is because of time, and you just can't. But he really gave me that idea that, like, if I want to go fly, you can do that. Even as a Black girl, you can. And if I wanted to go and learn scuba diving, I can do that. And so this whole idea of that the world is there waiting for me and that I can go and do all of these amazing things. And I think that that's one of my key messages is that you are a unique individual. You inhabit a unique space. This is my space to inspire, and that you should use your unique strengths and talents and passion to inspire those within your reach and beyond. And I think that that is how my message goes really back to my dad laying that foundation for me.
Yeah, you have a really good message with the space to inspire. And I know that you've been a science communicator for quite some time now. So I know that, you know, for anyone who watched your Instagram stories, you have so many interesting YouTube videos of all of the stuff that you've already talked about here, and more, because she's hiked like some really crazy stuff. So please go watch her YouTube videos, go follow her. She is amazing. So, you know, going to science communication, since, you know, since you started a while back, have you seen it shift a little bit to what it is now?
It's amazing. Yeah. You know, I started, so just to give you some of my background. So in undergrad, I got my undergrad degree in environmental science, and I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated. And a lot of us find us in that situation. My father passed away just after my freshman year, and he had always been kind of my champion. And my mom is amazing. She was a housewife and stuff. And I went home and I was living with her, and I ended up being a video editor for the 5, 6, and 11 o'clock news. Now, let me just put this out there for those of you that are listening, that back then it was tape to tape, like magnetic tape. And you put it in and you cut it and you brought it together. So
it wasn't a TikTok? It was like a 15-second TikTok?
It wasn't TikTok. It wasn't, yeah, it was really old school. And, but I learned how to edit video. And then it's funny because I posted these old like camcorders and stuff that I had when I was younger. So I've always loved video and media. And so as I kind of got into teaching and traveling and doing all these things, I would make these videos that I would share out. And then YouTube, of course, came along. And I started putting a little bit on that on YouTube, even though I don't have like a huge YouTube following now.
Go follow her now.
Yes, go following me now. But back then, it was just this kind of interesting way of going out and doing field research and then taking that information and bringing it back. And I think that that's one of the things that, you know, the science communication now with all the social media, it's amazing how people are sharing information. As a teacher, I am a big fan of open access to resources and education. And so this is another way of being able to share that. And so I love the fact that all of these science communicators are coming along. They're doing amazing work, and the more the merrier.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just reading the comments right now, and I think someone is about ready to switch their major to geology. So if just like one person switches to geology, I think you've already made it for them. So, you know, going back to the science communication, I know that right now there's a contest going on called Inspiration 4. So for anyone who doesn't know that, it's the first civilian flight to space. There was a gentleman that bought Crew Dragon SpaceX launch, and you know he's a gajillionaire, and he has 4 seats, so he is going for himself, and then he is the other 3 seats were up for grabs for other civilian people. One was just recently announced, and she is an amazing physician assistant for St. Jude. She is a cancer survivor and an amputee, and she is going to space as the youngest woman at 29. I think her name is Haley. And so the other two seats that are available, one is if you donate to St. Jude. So anybody who wants to go and have a chance to go to space, please donate to St. Jude. I mean, I did that. Hopefully I get chosen, but at least we raise money to St. Jude. But the 4th seat is a, you know, video for essentially selling yourself on like why you should go to space. So please tell us that you have submitted a video to go to space.
I'm in the process of putting my video together right now. I'm hoping that I can get it posted tomorrow. It's only on Twitter that you go, and it needs to go viral. So come and follow me, Dr. Sian Proctor, on Twitter, and look for my video. But it's one of those dreams of, you know, the opportunity to go to space. And I came that close as a NASA astronaut, but it still slipped through my fingers. And now as a seasoned, I'm going to tell you young people, it's seasoned, not old. As a seasoned adult, it would be nice to be able to still fulfill that. And in commercial space is the way that I'm going to have to do it. And so this to me is an opportunity where, again, it's one of those things where it's somewhat a popularity contest because you got to go viral and you got to, you know, they're looking for people who can influence, but it's also about your unique story and your path and your passion and your ability to share that. And so that's where I feel like, again, don't talk yourself out of it. I may not have 300,000 followers like some of the other people who have put in, but just like with the NASA astronaut selection process, you don't know unless you put yourself out there. And that's my take-home message, is that if you want to go to space, this is an opportunity for you to apply and put yourself out there.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, I wish all of you guys could go because there's so many people that are applying. But, you know, hopefully this will be just the start to the commercial sector. So, you know, you have Blue Origin with their New Shepard. I have to give a plug because I used to work there. You know, and then Virgin Galactic, you know, you have all these companies. So what do you think is the future of commercial spaceflight?
Well, you know, again, I'm hoping that it's access. And it's that, again, it's that my whole platform of Space to Inspire and a Jedi space, a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space. And, you know, we are right now writing humanity's future among the stars, where we're going to go to the moon, but we're not going to come back. We're going to stay and on to Mars to stay. And that's really setting this narrative, and we get to make the decisions. So why not strive for, you know, that Jedi space and bring as many people along as we can, because diversity does matter, inclusion does matter. And if we're going to have space for all of humanity, then let's really have it for all of humanity and bring as many people along as possible. Not just those who can afford it, not just those who are the best athletes and the most, you know, accomplished, but space for everyone.
Absolutely. So before I ask the next question, I've had a lot of questions on here. What's your YouTube handle?
Oh, everything's like Dr. Sian Proctor. You know, it's fun. One of the fun things about having a unique name is that if you Google me, you know, the first 10 pages of Google are me. And
Yeah.
so my YouTube, Dr. Sian Proctor, I have some really cool 360 videos from when I was on the JOIDES Resolution. I have a lot of just kind of interesting things. I did an Explore Mars panel where it was Leland Melvin, astronaut Leland Melvin, and astronaut Charlie Bolden. You know, both of them are retired, but just this really cool panel. And just some of my adventures as a NOAA teacher at sea, as a PolarTREC teacher, and high seas, meals from Mars.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, honestly, if you Google her right now, she is the first person that, like, just Google analog astronaut. There's so many people that do analog astronaut, but if you just Google that right now, she is the first picture that pops up. It's absolutely amazing. So just really quick, someone said they usually go milk first if I have frosted flake because they get soggy. That's a weird comment, but that's a question that I kind of just want to throw out there. Do you do milk first and then cereal, or then cereal and then milk?
I am not a cereal person, so I do
What?
neither, actually, which is funny. But I do have to say that, you know, someone who talks about freeze-dried food in my Eat Like a Martian TEDx, fruit in cereal is freeze-dried. So if you're wondering, have I ever eaten like a Martian? Well, if you eat cereal with fruit in it, then yeah, you got freeze-dried. And so, but if I did eat, I am definitely a cereal first and then add the milk.
Yeah, I think you're a serial killer if you do milk and then cereal. That's just really
Yeah.
weird. So going to that, tell us a little bit more about your TEDx talks about, you know, Martian or meal for Martians.
Yeah, so when I lived in the high seas habitat for 4 months, it was funded by NASA to investigate food strategies for long duration space flight. And you're like, what? Why does NASA care about food for long duration space flight? Well, there's a lot of things that happen when you're traveling through space physiologically that make you not want to necessarily eat as much. And you're eating already, generally already prepared, just add water and heat meals. But if we go on to the moon and we go on to Mars, we've got gravity, especially Mars is a third of Earth's gravity. And so now you can start to get into things like creatively cooking. And so my Meals for Mars cookbook. So in those 4 months, I went in as the outreach officer. And so it was my job to get people excited about this new analog on the big island of Hawaii. And because we were investigating food, I thought, why not run a food recipe contest? And so before going in, living into the habitat, I got all these recipes from people who submitted. I chose 25 of them. And during the 4 months of the mission, I cooked with different crew members, and that became the Meals for Mars series. So I literally ran a cooking show called Meals for Mars while living in a Martian habitat for 4 months. And from that, this cookbook was born. And so this kind of just it's really a coffee table book, but it has the meals that, you know, were submitted and the different kinds of foods that we had while we were in the habitat and cooking and living on Mars, on Earth. But also fun things of like what it was like, life in the simulation and what it's like to live in that kind of environment.
So where can someone find this cookbook?
The hard copy version has sold out because I did a limited print run, but you can get the PDF version on my Meals for Mars website. So it's just meals with the number 4 mars.com. And it talks about my TEDx is there, and it talks about food and sustainability and how, you know, solving for space solves for Earth. And I hope you'll check it out.
So a lot of the comments are just like, what haven't you done? So that's an actual question for
Ooh.
me, is like, what haven't you done that you want to still do?
Skydive.
Oh.
I bungee jumped off the original bridge in New Zealand. Quite terrifying, but I haven't skydived yet. So I really want to do that. I was planning on doing it for my 50th birthday back in March, and COVID happened, and I was like, oh, I was gonna hike to Everest Base Camp and then, you know, come back and skydive, and then both of those got canceled. And I'm like, oh.
No, hopefully you'll be able to do it soon.
Yes. But I'd love to skydive and of course go to space. And I haven't been to Antarctica. So I've been to 50 countries. I've been to all 50 states. So I love to travel. but I have not been to Antarctica. I've been to the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, which is not quite the same thing as stepping foot on the continent.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. So you know, you've hiked, you have you're an accomplished author of a cookbook. Not only do you know you're an analog astronaut, you have all of this stuff, and you're a teacher at the same time, but I hear that you have been in TV shows as well. So tell us a little bit more about that.
That's so funny. I have some of the things here. So it all started. So when you get the no rejection from NASA that you're not going to be an astronaut, the next best thing to do is go on a reality TV show. So I went on, this was like literally the summer after getting the no. It's called The Colony. It was back in 2010. Now here's the interesting thing about it is the premise of the show is that a virus has wiped out most of humanity. And you're a survivor, kind of sounding familiar, and you have been brought together with other survivors, and you basically have to rebuild society. So it's a post-apocalyptic build show. That's me right there. And we shot for 2 months in New Orleans in an area that hadn't recovered from Hurricane Katrina. And we were basically figuring out how to get food, how to get, you know, how to have shelter, how to generate energy, how to get water, purified water, all kinds of little things like that. And then luckily, from then I've been able to go on to things like Genius by Stephen Hawking, which was amazing, looking for the search for aliens in episode 2, Are We Alone? For the past, I want to say 4 seasons, I've been on Strange Evidence on the Science Channel. I have a couple of new shows. It's funny because they all blend together. But if you go to, if you Google me, Sian Proctor, IMDb, which is the International Movie Database, it kind of comes up with my resume of the science communication, mainly on Science Channel. I have a new show that will be coming out this year on the History Channel, which I'm excited about. But I think I've done like 7 or 8 different shows now.
So like you make me feel like I've not accomplished anything in my life when I talk to you.
No, because you've done so much, but you got to keep in mind that, you know, I'm 50. This is 30 years. And so a lot of times when I talk to people and I'm like, if you would have told my 18-year-old self that, you know, you're going to almost be an astronaut, you're going to get your pilot's license, you're going to travel and teach around the world, you're going to live in Moon and Mars simulations, you're going to be on TV, I would have been like, you know, whatever. You know?
So,
no,
you know,
I don't think so.
For those 18-year-olds, you know, who are going to go into college, what kind of experiences should they gain if they want to be an astronaut, or if they want to work at NASA, or if they want to like have a successful career like yours?
Well, you know, first it goes down to finding your passion. I didn't find mine until I went to grad school, when I realized that I wanted to be a college professor. And so that's one of the things where you got to just put yourself out there and try new things. And so in undergrad, one of the big things was just being involved, really, you know, joining clubs and meeting people, because I will tell you, connections matter. Not networking, connections. Connections is a little deeper. It's when people know what you're passionate about, and the things that you really want to do. So when opportunities come, they think of you. Everything that I've done has been because of connection. I'm telling you, NASA, somebody sent me an email saying, hey, NASA's looking for astronauts. You should apply. Oh, thank you. You know, the High Seas Habitat. Somebody on Facebook, a friend of mine said, NASA's looking for crazy people to live in a Mars simulation to investigate food. You love food and you love space. You should apply. Thank you. You know, Genius by Stephen Hawking. A friend of mine, Kate, who I lived in the High Seas Habitat with. She's like, they're looking for people to be on this show. You should apply. The Colony, a guy I went to grad school with, name dropped me. Because people are always like, how did you end up on TV? Huh? Somebody name dropped me to the producer. And so it's all about connections. And you can create those connections anywhere along your career. But when you're in school, you don't know what that person next to you is going to end up doing 10 years from now. And if they remember you, I mean, the guy I went to grad school with, I hadn't seen him in years. And yeah, he was like, yeah, you should reach out to Sian. She's doing cool stuff. And then I
Yeah.
ended up on the colony.
Yeah, at STEM Media, who's also helping with the Women in STEM Wednesdays, they are really big with helping engineers and people, people in STEM find their passion. They're really big on mentorship. So, go check them out just because, you need that. You need someone to help you and guide you along the way. There's a lot of times when I didn't know what I wanted to do. I have a question on here for you, Dr. Proctor, is, what if you find your passion late in life, like, at 27? 27 is young, by the way, so don't say that's old. But like, later in life, what if you find you feel like you're a late bloomer compared to other people?
Oh, you're never too late. And that's one of the reasons why I love the movie Julie and Julia, about Julia Childs becoming a famous chef late in life. She went to culinary school like when she was 50. And the funny thing is, I'm 50 and I literally just started space art this year in COVID. Like, these are my first ever watercolor paintings and drawings and stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to become a space artist. I wish I had discovered that I could do this when I was 30 years ago, but now's the right time. And so it's all about the right time for you, and all of that experience you have before finding this new passion or this new avenue, that just goes to help it adds interesting talents and knowledge to this new phase. So I don't think I could have done this 30 years ago, what I'm doing now, because it's all informed by that past history. And that's where, becoming a video editor, people are like, oh, you had to go backwards in your career or sidestep and become a video editor. And I was like, no, those skills I use now today. Like, I've picked up some amazing skills and knowledge during that time, and that stayed with me for the last 30 years.
Definitely. So, talking about that art, I think this Instagram Live has something special, a special giveaway that we are going to be auctioning off. So tell us a little bit more about your art.
Yeah, so I've been, so this started in COVID, around April. My mom passed away 2 years ago. And when we were cleaning out her stuff, I found all the postcards. I'd sent her postcards from around the world, and she kept every single one of them. And I didn't realize that until, we were cleaning out her place. And so then her birthday, she had passed away in April, and her birthday was in May. So last year in COVID, in April, going into May, I was like, oh, I'm kind of missing my mom. And, I used to send her postcards, and I have no one to send postcards to. And then I was like, well, why don't I just send them to people on Instagram and Twitter? So we started, I bought a bunch of postcards, and I was sending them out. And to people just saying, hey, thank you for being you. And then somebody said, well, where's your original postcards? And I was like, what? I'm not an artist. Right? And now, check. And so I started thinking, okay, well, let me see if I can send people something. And so now I have a Patreon where I have monthly subscribers where I send out original art and poetry to them every month. But for those of you who are listening now, who subscribe to me on my Instagram page and left a little note, I'm giving away this month's postcard. And so this is kind of like my flagship one. This one's really special because it actually got picked up to be the cover of a journal magazine. So it's my first official published artwork. And so, and I will send you and the person you tagged one of these with my autograph and original poem on the back for it.
So you can have an autograph from an analog astronaut, a super accomplished women in STEM,
and next Picasso or whatever,
and an artist. Yes, like, this is insane. She is so incredibly talented. So the other giveaway that we're doing is a one-on-one talk with you. I mean, yeah. I can talk to you for like hours, but we're almost hitting the hour mark. We're at 50 minutes right now. So, keep on commenting on our section. So one of you random, viewers who are commenting right now is going to have a one-on-one session with Dr. Proctor, who is amazing. So, before we go on to the next question, someone asked if you can catch a pass by Tom Brady. I can catch one-handed a pass by Tom Brady. So go ahead, Dr. Proctor.
When I was a kid, I wanted to play Pop Warner football. And they wouldn't let me because I was a girl. I had to be a cheerleader instead. My older brother got to play. And I'm so glad times are changing, right? And so I'd like to think that I could catch a football by Tom Brady. And ironically, that time when I was wanting to play Pop Warner football, I was 10, 11, and I was living in New Hampshire. So back where Tom Brady spent most of his career with the Patriots. So, and so thinking, but I got to say I'm a Vikings fan, because the first 5 years after I was born on Guam, they whisked me away from this beautiful tropical island, and my life in snow started in Minnesota. But it was during the Fran Tarkenton days, for anybody who might be a little bit older out there, and the purple people eaters for the Vikings. So I'll always be a Viking fan at heart. But I like to think that I could make, not one-handed, but definitely two-handed.
One-handed, easily, especially thrown by Tom Brady.
I gotta tell you though, I'm a hockey player. I played ice hockey, for the last 20 years, and I played on the ASU women's travel team. I picked up ice hockey as an adult, by the way. How about that? And I got good enough to play on the ASU women's club team and travel and do all of those kinds of things. And so hockey.
Again, you can get your passion, you can learn new things, you can learn new skills at any age. It doesn't matter. You can do anything you want at any age, as long as you have a passion for it. So I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to go to the giveaway. So one question, and this is a really good one to end on. What do you do when you fail in something that you're passionate about or something that you want?
Oh, it's one of those things where I don't see it as a failure. I see it as a learning opportunity. And I know you hear that a lot, but it really is. I mean, yeah, I could easily think that, oh my goodness, I failed at becoming an astronaut. But when NASA gave me that, no. But actually, I've transitioned into an analog astronaut. I'm doing really cool stuff. And so it's really about learning from the experience and the journey, and how resilient you are in moving forward. And so failure is not an option, in a sense that it's not a word worth using, because nothing's ever a failure.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to end today's live. I'm going to go to, let's see if Papaya Tutors out there. Again, this live is brought to you by Papaya Tutor, by Loomis Automation. They're going to send the next robot to Mars, because they're doing amazing things over there. And STEM Media, if you guys need mentorship, please reach out to STEM Media. They're always there to help. Again, mentors are the way to go. So let me see if Papaya Tutor is going to be out there to give a giveaway. If not, I have an Excel sheet that I have put together for all the comments on your live, so we can give out the art, which is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to do a Google generator on here. So I'm going to turn my head a little bit. While I do that, someone asked, what is your favorite hockey team?
Oh, okay. I got a couple of stories while you're doing that. For a long time, I was a Red Wings fan. Yep, but this was during the the Yzerman and Shanahan days. But funny enough, in the 2002 Olympics, I went to Salt Lake to watch, and you can imagine, I had just watched the first game of the Canadian men's hockey team, and I just happened to be wearing a Roots jersey, Canada, and I went down the street by myself to get something to eat. And, I had like my scarf on, and I had all these hockey pins and stuff that I'd collected from the week. And the funny thing is that I go to the first restaurant, and the guy's like, no, I'm sorry, we're closed. The Canadian hockey team's coming. And I'm like, did he just tell me the Canadian ice hockey team is coming here? And it's cold out, this is in Salt Lake. And I'm like, and I'm freezing, waiting for them to come. And everybody that's coming by me, I'm like, you got a Sharpie? I got a Sharpie. I need a Sharpie. Because I didn't even have a pin on me. And then this one guy comes walking my way with two other guys next to me. And I walk up to him, and I'm like, can I have your autograph? And looking up at him, and he looks down at me, and he's like, who's this black girl? And he's like, why would you want my autograph? And I'm like, because you're Chris Pronger. And he just gets this big smile on his face, because I knew who he was. He was like, yeah. And then the bus rolls up, and it's Mario Lemieux, and it's Gretzky was the coach, and Shanahan, and I'm just like, whoa. And it was so funny because Eddie Belfour was the goalie, and he saw all of my hockey pins and stuff, and he was like, you, in his Canadian, French, Montreal Canadian, you do not have a Canadian pin. And he took it off, and he gave me his Canadian pin to add to my collection. And so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Caps fan. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge Caps fan. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not a Patriots fan. If we're going back to, I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, not even Tampa Bay, where Tom Brady is right now. Uh,
We're totally going to have to catch a
art,
Caps game.
yes, definitely. I love it. Okay, so for the art, I got Hoffman / Vanessa.
Yay!
So if someone is out there, I will, send the message to Dr. Proctor. You win art. And then we're also going to select 2 more people, but we're going to do that off of the live. And then let me see, I'm going to throw out to see if Papaya has a number out there for the winner for your one-on-one. I hope I get it because I'm really excited about it. Let's see, Papaya or Sandra, if there's anyone out there, if you guys want to give me the winner for the one-on-one, that'd be amazing. And then while I wait for that, there is one more question on YouTube. I know I keep saying there's one more question, but as a PhD student in electrical engineering who loves to have an opportunity to work with NASA as an analog astronaut, what is the first thing that you would suggest to learn before applying?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, the thing about it, to become an analog astronaut is pretty easy because most of the places that exist around the world, whether it's MDRS, the Mars Research Station, High Seas in the Big Island of Hawaii, LunAres in Pila, Poland, they are basically pay to play. So if you have money and you're a STEM major, you can apply to go and play and do this. It's good. It's helpful if you know what kind of research you want to do. So if you're an electrical engineer and you want to do robotics or something and you're building rovers or something, like what research would you want to conduct as an analog astronaut in the high seas mission? So I think that's the first thing is thinking about, what's your passion when it comes to that? And then you can apply for these things. And then, doing NASA internships is always helpful. But NASA has HERA, which is their analog simulation at Johnson Space Center. And so you can also apply to do that once you get, you're done with school and you have the time to do that. Yeah.
So the giveaway, I just got pick a number from 1 through 70, and then they're going to pick,
Me?
go through the Excel sheet. Yeah, you
number
pick a
13.
number
13. Lucky number 13.
Tell me who lucky number 13 is. In the meantime, is Project Possum the same as being an analog astronaut?
Yes, Project Possum is, but they're just doing it. So when you think about analog astronaut, it's people who are advancing human spaceflight through living in habitats, but also by doing human spaceflight training. So Project Possum is all about doing citizen science research and collectively not only helping us here better on Earth, but also getting data and information on spacesuits and how to build them better and how we train as an astronaut and all of those things. So yes, that is another form of being an analog astronaut.
Okay, so lucky number 13 is Makayo. I am going to butcher all of that. So Papaya just put it in the comment section. We will send
Makaya Eustace?
Yes.
Makaya! I lived in the high seas habitat with Makaya.
Okay, all right. So I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. So Dr. Proctor is going to send you a message, and then there's going to be a one-on-one. Hello, Bailey. Bailey just joined. So again, thank you so much for, talking with us, giving your exciting story of your entire life. There's so many new followers. There's even people who might be switching to geology as a major because of this conversation. So do you have any last words before we head on out?
Again, take it from a seasoned veteran such as myself. Life, it goes by quick. Enjoy every moment of it and unleash the explorer within. That's the best part. We're all explorers. We all have our unique space that we can use to inspire those within our reach and beyond. And so go out and find your strengths and share your love and your passion with those around you.
Awesome. And we're going to catch a Caps game one of these days.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Engineering Memes guy Eduardo for giving us his account. Thank you, Papaya Tutors. Again, if you need some tutoring services that's a judge-free zone, please go to Papaya. And STEM Media, mentors. We need mentors in our life. So thank you to all of them. Loomis Automation, again, they're going to be sending a rover to Mars soon, and hopefully they're going to be looking for women in STEM for internships in the future. So please, thank you to everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Dr. Proctor. You are absolutely amazing. Good luck and inspiration for. Please go to her Twitter, retweet her video. It's dropping tomorrow. Let's send Dr. Proctor to space.
Yeah, send Side to space.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.